What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So if you're new to my channel, make sure to like and subscribe. My name is Cecilia and I'm from Bakersfield, California. I know I haven't been on YouTube for quite a while. So as you can tell by the title, this video is like completely different from any of the videos that I've done. So first, I just want to say that this is going to be an extremely long video and I'm going to be extremely detailed because I know that there's people out there who are also going through the same thing that I'm going through, and and if any way I can help, then why not. So I also want to say that I'm not a professional. I am not a doctor. This is just solely on my experience and just my opinion and how I feel. So for those of you that have known me for, a long time, you know that me and my fiance have struggled to get pregnant. If you hear noise, sorry, that's my cat. So I've always said that I wanted to try fertility, but I would always just push it back, or I just wouldn't actually call to make an appointment, or I just would always find an excuse. I think because I was just scared to find out why I'm not getting pregnant. So I want to start off by saying that me and my fiance had a miscarriage a couple years back. I want to say 2015. At that point, I wasn't aware that I was pregnant. I want to say I was bleeding for 2 weeks straight, and I go to the hospital because I'm like, this is not normal. I thought it was a period. So once it goes to the second week, by the end of the second week, I was like, okay, that's not normal. So I go to the hospital and they tell me that I'm pregnant and that I'm having a miscarriage. So they do an ultrasound, a vaginal ultrasound, and obviously they can't see nothing in my uterus because the baby was already the bleeding and all of that had happened. So I guess they just seen my levels and my blood work. They did blood work and they noticed that when you're pregnant, you have HCG levels, and those HCG levels are supposed to be very, very high. I'm talking in the hundreds and up. And so I think they said my levels were really low, so that I was pregnant and that I was miscarrying, so that I can just go home and it'll just on its own, keep coming out until the bleeding stops, So I took a pregnancy test and then it came out negative, so I knew that I was no longer pregnant. So we started our fertility journey, I want to say mid-April. I started going to this fertility place here in Bakersfield. It's called Acacia's Fertility Center. It's on 19th Street. So we started that. First thing they did was blood work. And okay, guys, so what they did after my blood work is they wanted to check if my fallopian tubes are open, because obviously if the sperm goes inside you, obviously it goes inside of you, and then it travels through your fallopian tubes to your eggs. Now if your fallopian tubes are blocked, obviously the sperm can't get to your egg because there's blockage there. So that's what the doctor wanted to make sure, that my tubes were open to where the sperm can flow into my egg. And there's two types of tests. I forgot what the other one's called, but one of them's called the FemView. And then I think the other one, if I remember, I'll just put it down below in the description, in the screen, if I remember what it's called. But there's two. So the FemView is, they basically have all this stuff in your vagina and they're gonna put this solution in you. I don't know what the solution's called, but it's basically the liquid IV. So it's basically liquid IV, and they basically push it through your vagina. They push it, and as they're pushing the liquid, you can see in the screen, because you're getting an ultrasound while they're doing this, and they push the liquid into one of your tubes, and they could see it through the ultrasound if the liquid flows through. So they check my left fallopian tube and it flows through, so it's open. They check my right one, it flows through and it's open. So now we know that my fallopian tubes are not blocked. Now, the reason why I didn't get the other test was because it was ink, which was also cheaper. For the FEMU, I believe it was $900. For the dye one, that one, it's I think $250 to $300. It's not that expensive. It's not as expensive as FEMU, but from what I've heard, FEMU is less painful. Now, when I got the FEMU done, it was, oh my gosh, I think like from 1 to a 10, it was like a 8 or 9, maybe like an 8, but like, or 9 honestly, because I did have a lot of pain. I think after I felt like nauseous, but like it wasn't like pain that you can't handle. It was like it's bearable, like it's you can handle it. Well, I mean, I feel like I have a lot of pain tolerance, but I'm always like complaining about my headaches because I have migraines. But like, because I feel like with the headache, you cannot, like, it's just a pain that you cannot ignore. But like with the FEMU, I knew it was only gonna be for a little bit, so like I didn't think it was that bad. But it was like after, I just felt like nauseous, and like I just wasn't like a lot of, like, it felt like cramping, like really really bad cramping after. But like as time went by, like I would say like an hour later, like I was fine. Like it was still a little cramp, but like it wasn't as painful. And then with the other test, which is like the FEMU, but like I said, with that one they put ink inside your tubes, so I didn't want to do that. I actually was gonna go with that one, but once I heard about FEMU, they're like, oh, we have also another one that's FEMU, which is a little less painful and you're more comfortable. And I was like, okay, cool. So I decided to go with the FEMU instead of the other one. But it wasn't that bad. So obviously it was like such a relief, like finding out that my tubes were open. And I know now that obviously the sperm can travel to my egg, so that was like out of my head, because I always thought to myself, like, what if my what if my fallopian tubes are closed? Like, what if that? What if this? Like, I was just doing too much thinking. But yeah, so once we found out my tubes were open, and I was like super relieved. They checked my fiance's like sperm analysis, and you know, it came back, and like he had really good, you know, it came back really good. He had really good sperm count. So we're like, okay, so we know that he's not the issue. You know, we know he's all good. So once they did my blood work, it turns out that I have PCOS. Now, if you don't know what PCOS is, basically it's called, I wrote it down because it's like really hard to pronounce. It's called polycystic ovary syndrome. So it's a hormonal disorder. It prolongs like menstrual periods, or like either you have like really long periods, you get your periods a lot frequently, even like twice a month or whatever, or you don't get a period at all for like 6 months, which was like my case. Like I would not have periods for like 3 months, 4 months, 2 months. Like it was just like on and off. So they told me I have PCOS, and yeah, irregular periods or no periods. And then with PCOS, you do not ovulate. Like, so basically, like when you have a period, you know, certain days after your period, it's like the more chances of you getting pregnant, because that's when you're ovulating. So in my case, I'm not ovulating. So Casper, oh my goodness. So they get me on letrozole at the fertility place. Let me get you guys closer. So if you don't know what letrozole is, it's actually a medication that's for cancer. So before they started me on the medication, they had to actually have me sign a consent, because taking letrozole is for cancer patients, and it can also give you cysts. Like it's always like a chance of it giving you cysts. So they make you sign a waiver, and you know, I signed it, and They give it to me for 5 days. They give it to me in this little bottle thing. They give it to me for 5 days, and I believe it was 2 tablets. Yeah, it was take 2 tablets by mouth once a day for 5 days. And when you do take those pills, you don't have to take it like exactly at a like exact time, but you do have to take it like around like within an hour difference or so, so it can be effective. Now what this does is it basically makes you ovulate and then so it makes you ovulate. Now with me, I have a lot of little follicles on my ovaries, so they're basically like little like I want to say like little I don't want to say eggs, but basically they're like little tiny eggs all around my ovaries, and they're like fluid, like little sacs. And so I have a lot of those on my ovaries. I have about like 40 on one of my ovaries, and then the other one I have about like 30 or 20 something. So basically it's kind of hard like going in order because I'm trying to explain everything the best that I can. But yeah, so the letrozole is supposed to make one of those little eggs that I have about, so when they did my ultrasound, it was about probably this big. Well, the biggest one that I had on one of my ovaries, we had to find the biggest one that I had. It was about this big. We wanted it to be about this big. So they got me on the letrozole for 5 days. I took it for 5 days. Went back for an ultrasound because when I'm taking these, I have to be checking my ultrasounds, making sure that, you know, they're to the size that they wanted it to be. I think they wanted it to be 18. Gosh, I don't know if I'm wrong. Let me see. I think they wanted it to be this big. So I took letrozole for 5 days, went back for an ultrasound. It wasn't the size that they wanted it to be. So I went back. They did a new prescription. I didn't go back. They did a new prescription. They called it in the pharmacy. My fiance picked it up, and I took it for another, let me see, this one was for 5 days. Oh, I took it for 4 more days. So I took one for 5 and then I took one for 4. So after I took the 4, the letrozole for 4 more days, the follicle was to the size that they wanted it to be. Now, after that, they ordered me Pregnol, which is this right here. This is 10,000 USP units. So they give it to you in this container, this box. And it comes like this. So it comes in a liquid and powder form. So I basically had to give myself a shot, but I obviously couldn't do it by myself. So I asked my brother, since he's in the medical field. Well, he used to work in the field, but he wants, yeah, whatever. He knows about, giving shots. So I asked him if he can give it to me. It goes actually like right above my butt cheek. It's supposed to go in the muscle. So basically what you do is you grab, I think it was 1 millimeter or one, it was about this big anyway. And so you grab this much of the liquid, you put it in, you obviously turn it around, you suck up the one of the liquid, you stab this, you put it into the powder, you shake it up, and then you turn it, and then you're sucking out all the liquid that's mixed with the powder into the syringe. And then they give you these two. I believe the syringe came with this one, which was, let me see, the shorter one. So the shorter one was a 22 gauge, which is like super thick, which is what we use to mix the liquid and powder. So once it was in there, we switched the needle and we used the, which one's this one? I think it's 25. Yeah, 25 gauge, which is way better because, yeah, it's longer. Let me see if you can. It's longer, but it's thinner. Like, I was telling my niece, I was like, oh my gosh, like, there's no way I'm gonna like shoot myself with the short needle. So I was so confused. So I called the lady, I called the pharmacist, and they were like, okay, yeah, you use a 25 gauge for the shot. So I was like, okay, you know, I was happy about that. So my brother gives it to me on my butt. It honestly didn't even hurt at all, like it at all, until like afterwards. Obviously, like I was a little sore, but nothing crazy. So the Pregno, yes, it's 1,000 units. So basically, I'm gonna try to explain to you the best way for you guys to understand, because I don't really know like the technical way of saying it. But so basically, this Pregno is supposed to basically make me ovulate, kind of explode that little follicle, like, so that I can ovulate. So that would happen in 3 days. So I got the shot on a Monday, and it's, like I said, I'm gonna be super detailed with you guys. I got the shot on Monday at 8 a.m., like 8:05 or so. You have to be very punctual with this stuff because this is how it's supposed to work. So I took it at like 8ish, and then Wednesday you're supposed to have sex. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Like, this is very punctual stuff. So whatever, we did our homework, and you're actually supposed to have sex Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then within those days is when you're ovulating, so it's higher of a chance for you to get pregnant. So we did that. And our fertility friend, I'm just gonna call her friend, I don't want to say her name, but they're also freaking sweet there, and I love them, and I'm so grateful for them. So she's like, okay, just, you know, take a pregnancy test, you know, 2 weeks later. So 2 weeks later was June 3rd, which was Thursday, which is the 2 weeks after. So basically the whole process of like ultrasound stuff took like a couple weeks, blood work and all of that included. So 2 weeks passed. I took a test June 3rd. It's a Thursday. It came out like super faint. I have the test right here. Like, I don't know if you guys could see that, but you could barely see that little faint line. This was taken 6/21. I actually marked them in the back. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I couldn't believe it. You guys, I'm gonna show you guys. I'm so sorry if I'm being a crybaby, but I'm super excited. Oh my god. I'm like shaking. It's gonna be so hard to keep this from Ro because like I live with him, and like I told him that the blood work was gonna take a few days just so I can gather up some stuff and surprise him. But I'm so excited. Okay guys, I'm gonna stop now. I was like in shock. I was like, oh my god, like, am I just seeing this? Like, I remember I had took it like first, because they told you to take it like the first pee of the day, like when you wake up. So I go and I take it, and then I couldn't believe it. So I didn't want to tell my fiance because I wanted to surprise him, and I wanted to make sure that I was pregnant. So I called my best friend. Well, I didn't call her. I sent her a picture, and I'm like, oh my god, like, am I crazy? Like, is this another line? And she's like, no, dude, like, it's a second line. Like, you're pregnant. So I wait the next day. I take another one. And I took another test, and it comes out more. Like, it came out like, I have the other one right here. So this is the other one that I took. If you could tell, it's like clearly second line. So I was like obviously full of emotion. I was like super excited. Sorry if I'm getting emotional. So I kept it from my fiance like the whole weekend. I didn't tell him till, sorry, I'm looking over here because the calendar's over here. I didn't tell him till that following week, which was, let me see, I found out the 3rd, which was a Thursday. So I didn't tell him until June 9, which was like almost a week later. I did something cute for him, you know. But I noticed that I started spotting. So obviously, like, you know, I'm scared because I've had a miscarriage before, and I was just like so afraid. Like I was just like thinking the worst, but I was still trying to like stay calm, like if it's gonna be fine. Like I think I just had like a lot of faith, and I was like just praying a lot, and like, you know, obviously I was scared. I didn't want another miscarriage, and so I didn't surprise my fiance the way that I wanted to, because I texted him because I kept bleeding more. Let me just backtrack a little bit. So when I took the pregnancy test on Thursday, June 3rd, I did a blood work the next day, which was the 4th, Friday morning. So I did the blood test in the morning. They were like, okay, we'll call you, because they wanted to check my ECG levels in my blood. So I was like, okay. So I called him like around 3:30. It was almost gonna be 4. It was like 3:40 something or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, like, congratulations. Like, they were like, you're pregnant. They're like, it's a positive result. So I was like super happy. But I didn't tell Ro because I just kind of wanted a way to surprise him, like gather up some stuff. And I'll post a picture later of how I told him. So I'm super excited, like the whole weekend and then the week, and then I started bleeding. So I found out the 3rd, and I started spotting June 8th. Like nothing crazy, you know. Fertility was like, my friend was like, the lady, she was like, you know, it's normal, like your body, it's like, it's, you know, from implantation, like when the baby is, you know, getting ready to do, you know, it's basically, I'm gonna say like getting comfortable, you know. So she's like, implantation will happen, you will notice a little bleeding, that's normal, but not too much bleeding, obviously it's not good. So I started spotting. I was like, okay, like I didn't think nothing of it. I was like, oh. And then the next day I was like more, like it was just like more, still like not a lot, but you know, a little more than the day before. So I was just really scared, and my best friend kept telling me, go to the ER, go to the ER, you know. And I was like, they told me that, you know, they couldn't do an ultrasound because you're not able to see nothing because it's too early. And so I was like, okay. So I just try to, you know, not think about it. And, you know, the next week comes, and I was still spotting, but it was not heavy. It was literally like, just like, it wasn't going on my underwear, or it wasn't like when I would pee, it wasn't coming out. It was like literally just like when I wiped, I would see it on my toilet paper, because I would obviously look at it because I was scared. So the next week comes, and basically I get to 4 weeks pregnant, and I noticed that I was starting to bleed more. So I got scared, and I decided to finally tell my fiance, and it's not the way that I wanted to tell him, but he had to know, you know. Like, it was just killing me, like keeping it in, and like me living with him, it wasn't easy. Like, obviously, like I'm not showing it, but it just wasn't easy keeping it from him. There was actually a few times where I almost told him. And so I texted him because I noticed that I was bleeding more. just texted him, I'm pregnant. I know I told him come home. I texted him to come home. I felt bad because he had to leave his job, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So I texted him, I said come home. And he said what happened. He actually tried to call me, but I didn't answer because I was on the phone with fertility. And then he replies what happened, and he tries to call me. And then I texted him, I'm pregnant, but I'm bleeding. I have to go get blood work done. So I called fertility. I told them what was going on. They're like, okay, come, we're gonna take some blood work and we're gonna check your ACG levels. So when they did the first blood test of my ACG levels, they were at a 16.0. I wrote it down. The second blood test, the one I was like freaking out about, no, the second blood test was 64. And then I was fine, like the spotting, I guess she said it was fine, it was normal as long as my ACG levels were going up. So then I go the third time and it comes out that my ACG levels are still going up. So it was at a 100 and I think it was like a 124 or one something, but I remember her telling me it has to be at a 200. But then when she called me, she's like, no, it's still good, as long as it's going up, we're good. And I was like, okay. So I was just trying to stay positive, you know, trying not to think about it. I would just sit. She's like, rest a lot. So, you know, I didn't go to work. It's actually been a week since I haven't went, almost a full week. And so whatever, I was calm, and they suggested me take another one like a couple days later. So I went back. We went back and I did blood work, and then, you know, I was just trying to stay positive throughout this whole time, but it was just really hard because I was still bleeding, and not a lot, but I was still bleeding. So I'm sorry. So they call me from fertility. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it together. And they told me that unfortunately my levels were going low. From 120 or 30 something, it went down to 64. So they're like, unfortunately, you know, like they're just gonna keep going low from here, and you know, you're just gonna bleed like a period. And you know, so obviously, you know, I hung up and I started crying because like I knew, like me and my fiance, like we both kind of knew that this was possible, like because it doesn't always work the first time. You know, it can take 2-3 months, but so for some people, like it works the first month and then you get pregnant, you know. But you know, everybody's different, everybody's body's different, so we should try to get it together. So you know, I started crying, and obviously my fiance was just talking to me and just like, you know, it's okay, like, you know, this could happen and we have to be strong. And he was just being so supportive. And I didn't think like it was gonna hit me this hard. I think with my first miscarriage, you know, I wasn't like, obviously, like I was on birth control. Like me and my fiance, I stopped birth control, and we're like, what if it happens? And so I had to stop birth control a couple years, and then with my first miscarriage, it was a little different because it was kind of like unexpected, and like I didn't know I was pregnant. But like with us actually trying, and then like knowing that I'm pregnant, and then, you know, and then like it happens, like I think it's worse because like we were trying, and you know, I knew that I was having a miscarriage, so it was just harder. And I didn't think that it was gonna like hit me this hard, but it just makes me sad. But like my fiance told me, like, you know, it's actually like, it's obviously it's not a good thing that happened, but he said, you know what, it's true, like I'd rather have it happen at an early, super early stage than, you know, when I'm farther along. So I was, I think, 5 weeks pregnant, and and it's crazy, like, because she was doing the little, like, the delivery day, like when everything was still good, and my delivery day would have been either Valentine's Day or my birthday. My birthday is February 19th, so it would have either been February 14th or February 19th. And just freaking crazy. Like, I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, like, what are they freaking odds? So yeah, my fertility place told me, you know, I was having a miscarriage. So I go to the ER because I'm like bleeding more, and I am actually blood type negative. I'm negative. I have it right here. Hold on. I have the papers from the hospital. So my blood type is B negative. Now, when your blood type is negative, basically my blood can't mix with my baby's until after birth. So while like it's in my stomach, so there's this shot called Program. Basically that shot is supposed to like keep my blood away from the babies, because we still don't know what blood type my baby is. Like, we don't know if he's positive or negative until the baby comes out. But because all the fluids are mixing, I have to get the Program shot. But they don't recommend the Program shot until you're 36 or 38 weeks pregnant, which is, they told me, 6 months. So I was like, okay. So I go to the hospital and they're like, you don't need it unless you're like bleeding a lot, and or you've miscarried, like, or like your HCG levels are too low to where like you need the shot. And this shot goes like on your butt cheek. So when I noticed that I start bleeding more, I just get more scared, because I already know my levels are going low by this time, and I was just scared for myself too, like my health and just me in general too. Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the ER. I finally went, and they do my blood work, and it comes out that my HCG, lady tells me like, yeah, your HCG levels are low. She told me that was at 66. So the last thing I heard was at fertility was over at 64. So I'm like, what are two number difference? Like, is it going up or is it going down? Like, it was kind of giving me hopes again, and I was like, okay. But I knew they were, she just told me that they're gonna go lower. And I was like, okay. So I was like mentally preparing myself. The lady's like, okay, the nurse was like, okay, you know what, like, since you are bleeding more than you were, we're just gonna give you the Program shot, you know, so that it's just safe, you're on the safe side. That's what she said, like, basically, like, just to be on the safe side. So I was like, okay. So I think I waited at the ER for 4 hours, and I was there since like, it was like 6:50 when I got there, and I left I think like around almost 12, because so I left, they gave me the Program shot, I left the ER, and then they told me like, go try to make an OB appointment and get an OBG appointment to try to get an ultrasound. She's like, even though I don't think you'll be able to see anything, but at least just to make sure, like, you know, either it's like in your uterus or like it's not anymore. But she's like, but I don't think they can see anything. So I'm like, okay, that makes no sense. But so I actually find an appointment with an OB in Bakersfield, here in Bakersfield. And I was like, thank God. So I called and I was like, you know what, I'm at the ER, you know, they want me to make an appointment to try to get an ultrasound. And they're like, oh, is it, because I only got emergency Medi-Cal. Because when the hospital found out I was pregnant, you know, you automatically qualify for emergency Medi-Cal. So I got qualified for that. Since my insurance from my new job has not kicked in, I was like, okay, cool, like, you know. And I called an OB. I found one that same day, which was like freaking awesome, because everywhere I was calling, either they weren't accepting emergency medical or they were booked until July. So I was like, okay, I can't wait until July. So thankfully I found an appointment at 1:30 at this OB. And then I go in, they take a urine test, they're like, everything came out fine. Like, I was like, okay. So the doctor goes in and he does like a over my, like the over the stomach ultrasounds. And I was like, okay, like, and he's like, okay, this is your uterus. You know, as you can see, there's nothing there. Like, he like really was pushing it. And I told him, oh, I thought I was gonna get a vaginal ultrasound. He's like, no, like there's no point. Like, you're not able to see anything. Like, here, this is your uterus, this is the lining. Like, you know, basically, like there's nothing showing. And I was like, okay. And he just patted me in the back. He was like, it's okay. Like, you know, he's like, you know what? Like, you can keep trying. Like, he's like, you know, you're alive, you're not homeless. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, you're right. You know, like, it's not the end of the world. So I leave the place. He wanted me to go back for blood work. But this was the first time me going there. So I was like, you know what? I'm already getting my blood work at fertility. Like, there's no point in getting it done there. So I know fertility wants me to go back to take another blood work, basically, like, to make sure that, like, I'm completely, like, negative. Like, I guess they told me my G levels, like, for negative will have to be under 5. So I was like, I'm at a 60. So they wanted me to go back in like a few days and take another blood test, just to basically confirm, like, I'm no longer pregnant. And today is, what's today? Today is the, where are we? Oh my gosh, guys, what's today? Today's the 5th, no, today's the 16th, June 16th. Yesterday I noticed that the 15th, yesterday I think it was the day that I was like bleeding the most. Like, it feels like I have a full period now. And it does make me really sad, but I'm just like really trying to stay positive because I don't want to be sad. But I know that we're gonna try and we're gonna keep trying, and I'm not gonna lose faith. And this video is not gonna be posted until like I'm ready. And I kind of just want to like share this journey with you guys, because I know there's people out there that struggle, you know, they struggle to get pregnant. I also forgot to mention something. They also gave me these suppositories that go in your vagina. Like I said, I'm gonna be extremely detailed. I completely forgot to mention this, but so basically the suppositories, they go in your vagina, and you place them in at night as far as you can inside, and that's supposed to help, like, basically like keep a fetus, like, I don't want to say protected, but like protected in a way. But obviously once I started getting my ACG levels and they were already going low, like, they make you stop taking them. And I think I took the suppositories like since they made us like start having, like, after, yeah, like once they gave us the okay to like do our homework and like, you know, having a course, that's when I started doing the suppositories. But now that it's like, you know, I'm bleeding and like my ACG levels are low, and I don't want to say miscarrying, but yeah, like I'm no longer on the progesterone suppositories. Once we start the process again, like obviously I'm gonna get back on them, but right now, like, I'm not sure if like I want to try right away. Like, I kind of want to just give me like maybe like a month or so, just to kind of like, you know, get myself back together. And but I'm not giving up. Like, you know, this is not gonna kill me, so like I'm just willing to keep trying. And I know our wedding is like around the corner. Well, we still have what, a year. And to be quite honest, like I don't care if I come out pregnant during my wedding, or you know, I'm pregnant before, a couple months before. Like, I'm okay. Like, I know that God's gonna give us our blessing one day, and I'm gonna be so happy, and this is all just gonna be worth it. So like, if you're struggling to get pregnant, don't give up. You know, there are places out there that can help you. You know, it's I don't know how to say it. Like, just don't give up. Don't. I've always thought like maybe my uterus is low. Like, you know, we as Mexicans have like superstitions, or like we believe in like certain things. Like, I would always go get massaged by different ladies because they say like if your uterus is like really low, that they can like massage it up and like you can get pregnant faster. But I went to like 6-7 different ladies, and they all massaged me. They all told me different things, and you know, I'm grateful for them. Like, who knows, maybe that's a part of also, you know, I just never know if it did help me. But like, obviously that just didn't work for me, because there's more of a problem than what I knew. Like I didn't know I wasn't ovulating. Like, I would have never thought that. Actually, one of the doctors I used to work for at my old job, it told me that you know, she actually asked me, what if you're not ovulating? Like, and I was like, well, like, well, I get my periods like not every month, not every, you know, not like normal. But I said, that's crazy. Like, how can you not ovulate after your periods? Like, you're supposed to ovulate after your periods. But comes to find out that I don't ovulate. And it's crazy because she told me that, and she would always tell me like, go to fertility, have you made your appointment? I just kept pushing it back. Like, I just like, oh, I'm gonna call, and I would just never call, you know. And I'm glad that I finally did, because now I know like, well, you know, what's the issue, and I know that they're gonna help me, and you know that it's possible. So I just want to say that thank you guys for whoever stayed throughout the whole video. I hope this was somewhat helpful to people who are trying to get pregnant. Like I said, like it's hard, but you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And it's true, you know, like I'm only gonna become stronger from this. And yeah, if you're struggling, don't give up. And I will post the name of the place that I went to and their address down below in the description, just in case that some of you are from Bakersfield and are struggling to get pregnant. And I'm gonna be very honest, like throughout this whole process, I think we spent a little over $2,000. I think it was like 2005 or maybe a little more. And you know, even though it came to this outcome, I don't regret it. I rather try. And I just want to say thank you to my fiance, because I'm gonna cry. He's been so supportive, and I don't know what I'd do without him. He's been freaking rock, and this is only the beginning of our journey, and he's been so good and so supportive, and just he's just awesome. I love you, babe. And yeah, so that's my little story. I will keep you guys updated for sure. But if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe if you want to keep seeing my story, my life, and our vlogs. And you know, if you have any questions, post them down below in the comments. I will answer them. Like I said, I will be super detailed. Like, I do not care if this is too much for you, then I'm sorry. But yeah, I'll see you guys very soon, and thank you all for the love and support. Thank you to my friends that have been there. My best friend, she's freaking amazing. She's nothing but a freaking angel. I'm so grateful to have her in my life. I actually haven't told my family because only my best friend knew and my fiance. And you know, I'm gonna tell them before this video goes out, because I feel like, you know, I feel like they should know. And I just hope and pray that, you know, next time it's good news and it stays good news. And you know, I'm just gonna stay positive and have a lot of faith in God, because I know that God is good and He's always with me, and I know I will just become stronger from this. And me and my fiance are gonna do whatever we have to do to, you know, keep this process going, and this is all just gonna be worth it. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, put them down below. You can even just DM me on Instagram. I will also share my Instagram or my Snapchat just in case you guys have questions and you guys don't want to ask me publicly. And I will love to answer your guys' questions as best as I can, and you know, give you guys the knowledge that I have as far as fertility goes, because I'm not a professional. But yeah, I will see you guys very soon. I will keep you guys updated, and I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Bye.